Chelsea and Arsenal among the clubs looking to sign Xavi Simons this summer, as he is prepared to leave RB Leipzig. No bids yet, and no talks yet. This is from Fab Romano. And then our boy Pies on Twitter says that Chelsea and Arsenal also in the race to sign Xavi Simons. Chelsea sees Simons as a potential replacement for Nkunku. It's understanding that the suitors are hoping to agree on a fee of £56 million. Guys, welcome back to the Chelsea Godfather channel. Please subscribe to my channel for regular Chelsea-related updates. Let's jump right in. Xavi Simons, who is he? 22 years old, Dutch, winger. For me, he gives me a little bit of Eden Hazard type vibes, right? He's that kind of winger that likes to prod, likes to attack, likes to just take shots from crazy angles, crazy distances inside the box, outside the box. Obviously not quite at the level of Hazard. Even when Chelsea got him from Lille, I believe Hazard was still just 21 years old when Chelsea got him from Lille. He was already a French player, League One player of the season, and so not quite close, but not close enough. But obviously he's a promising player, and this is a player that came up through the Barcelona La Masia from the ripe age of, I believe, 7 years old, from 7 till 16, right? He was like literally his entire youth training, 9 years that he spent in La Masia, where PSG then went and nabbed him from Barker's youth team, and they sort of held on to him. It seemed like PSG didn't quite have a game plan for the young man. So a few years later, a couple years later, they shipped him out back to his native country, to PSV. At PSV, he kind of blew up. I believe he scored about 19 goals out of 35 or so games. Really, really nice, season. At that point in time, there was some kind of handshake deal between PSV and PSG, whereby PSG sold him to the Dutch team, but retained a buyback option of 6 million euros. And I believe he was only there for about a year, it may have been the year that he blew up. Once he blew up, PSG went on ahead and exercised their buyback option for 6 million euros. Brought him back to Paris. And again, no game plan for the young man. They went on ahead and packaged them out to Bundesliga, to RB Leipzig. Last season, he had scored 10 goals out of 25 league games. Obviously, you're asking why only 25 league games. He had an injury in Champions League game against Liverpool, and missed out on a couple of months. Bad ankle injury from October till, I believe he returned in January this year. So obviously, again, I believe he also had 7 assists. So overall last season he had 11 goals plus 7 or 8 assists. So roughly around 18 GNA keeping in mind that he missed a chunk of the season. Still just 22 years old. He can play. Obviously he's right-footed, which means he can play on that left wing. He can play 10. He can press. He loves to press. He's a high energy player. Obviously, again, his training from La Masia, right? You already know he's going to be that dog in terms of up front, chasing everything that's moving, just throwing his body around, trying to help and win back the ball ASAP. I mean, that's the kind of DNA that he has in his training. So he's definitely a player that can definitely fit into Maresca's idea of football. His price again, 56 million pounds. Again, based on pints, that's what he's saying. He was actually quoting Ben Jacobs. So that's obviously not an issue. We have a lot of 50 to 60 million players, like a whole bunch of them. So that's not an issue. His age is definitely right smack at the sweet spot at 22 years old. The only question mark, if you read the comments on X, is right. Should we go for Simons or is it Simmons? Xavi Simons, or should we go for Rogers? For me, again, if you guys watched my last video on Rogers, I'm gonna leave a card at the end of this video. Obviously, you guys know that I like Rogers. For me, he's a plug and play guy. He's a plug and play. He's perfect for Maresca ball. He's perfect for Chelsea ball, right? PSG found out the hard way there's a difference, right, between Premier League ball and Chelsea ball. It's a different level. And what it is physicality in the middle of the park. I mean, just not just the middle, all over. Like, you're gonna feel the bruises at the end of the day, especially when we have a trophy on the line, right? That's he is that is the type of player that Rogers is. Now, I'm not saying that that's not what Xavi Simons is, because the reality is we haven't seen him in the Premier League. We haven't seen Simons in the Premier League. We don't know whether his stats, his GNA, are they going to carry over? Will they transfer right from the Bundesliga, from the Dutch league to the Bundesliga to the Premier League? I mean, we've seen players. We Chelsea fans, we've seen a lot of players that have come from the Bundesliga, and not necessarily that they were quote unquote flops, but they did not live up to the hype. It's one thing not being a total flop. I mean, our players haven't been, whether it's Timo Werner, Havertz, Kunku. I mean, I wouldn't call any of those players flops, but none of those players have lived up to the hype, up to the transfer fee, right? None of them have, and right? It's always a gamble. It's always a risk to know whether is this the player that is going to finally buck the trend. And in all fairness to those other players, that whereas where a player like Xavi Simons might benefit, is those other players didn't have the opportunity to sort of get better into a philosophy, a team framework, and not just a team framework, but also a team framework with consistency of the manager at the top. Like, literally, I think all those players literally went season after season with a brand new manager, pretty much every season. And so that obviously did not help them either. Not to make excuses for for those players, but I'm just trying to put things into proper perspective. But now getting back to Simmons, what are my thoughts on him? Well, my thoughts on him are clear, right? Him versus Rodgers. The issue with Rodgers, again, I mentioned that I've given you all of the positive as to Rodgers and why I would personally prefer Rodgers. But the issue with the Rodgers situation, again, I mentioned in my last video, is that the player is not for sale. He is Aston Villa's most prized asset, and not with a standing that they have PSR headaches. He's not for sale. It's going to take a bit of prodding, right? It's going to take some creativity to convince them to basically sell Rodgers to us, whether it be us giving them Jackson and so on and so forth, or some kind of cash plus player deal, right? But what you also have to remember is that time is not on our side to make that deal happen. And time not being on our side means that time is not on their side to make a deal happen in a season where they need that actual player, or they need time to find a replacement for their best player. So that's why Rodgers deal. Remember, at the end of that video, I mentioned, I believe I only gave it a 20 to 25 percent chance of happening. For the opposite reason, it works better for Xavi Simons, because Xavi Simons is for sale, right? His agent, he assigned I believe he changed his agent recently. And his current agent is the same agent for Moises Caicedo. So they use the same agent. So he already has a direct phone call link to Chelsea bosses, right? They have dealt with us. The player is for sale. The player is 100% for sale. And his fee is around £56 million. And so, for these reasons, I feel like, and it appears that we do have some level of interest in this, this is a deal that is the most likely of the three players that have been linked with us so far for that left wing, right? Remember I mentioned Eze, in my video a few days ago. Then Rodgers, obviously Eze is not. We're not going for Eze. He's 27 years old, so that cancels him out. Rodgers, we would love to go for Rodgers, but he's not for sale, so that's gonna cancel us out. Whereas Simmons, he's at 22. The fee is no more than 60 million. It's just under 60 mil, and he is for sale. And his agent is an agent that we actually know and we have done a massive deal with. So for those reasons, I feel like if Chelsea makes contact with RB, there's a reasonable likelihood that we can get this deal done within the next week, within the next 2 weeks max. So the next step for us is to keep our ears up to see whether there's going to be club to club contact. If we see club to club contact between Chelsea and RB Leipzig, then there's a fairly good sign that is going to happen. Now Arsenal is also linked with this player, but Arsenal is going for Eberechieze. As I mentioned, I expect Arsenal to close that Eberechieze deal. I mean, it's most likely going to get closed at some point in time because Eze is going to leave. So I think what's going to happen is, Crystal Palace ultimately is going to reduce their asking price when they realize that Arsenal is the only club that has an interest in their player, and his release clause is not going to be met by any club. So ultimately, I see. Crystal Palace has two options: either they drastically reduce their release clause demand to somewhere in the 50 or even less than 50 million pound range, right? Most likely less than, maybe like 45 plus 5 package kind of deal. I think that's probably what Arsenal. I haven't seen the numbers they put on the table. I'm not an Arsenal fan, but that's probably, if I take a wild guess, that's the kind of deal that Arsenal would be looking to try and close Eze for. Whereas we, Chelsea, you already know we go for those 22-year-old type players, and at the 55 to 60 million pound range is our own sweet spot. And so let's see if there's a club to club announcement of contact being made over the next few days, probably by sometime next week. Then we'll have an idea as to whether Xavi Simons is coming to Chelsea or not. How do you all feel? Like this video, share this video, and leave your comments below. God bless you guys. Peace.